You don't have a willpower problem, you have an identity problem. And if you've ever white knuckled your way through a habit only to watch it collapse 3 weeks later, that's not weakness. That's you using the wrong tool entirely. There's a 5,000-year-old model that explains exactly why. And once you see it, the whole game changes. In this video, I'll show you number one, why willpower always fails, and what the ancient Vedic model says is actually driving your behavior. Number two, the three-mode framework that tells you exactly where you are stuck and why your environment is more powerful than your intentions. Number three, the identity shift that makes discipline stop feeling like a fight and start feeling like who you are. Let's get into it. A guy I know, smart, driven, successful in his career, decided he was going to wake up at 5 a.m., meditate, work out, and eat clean. He bought the journal, he set the alarm, he lasted 11 days. And the thing that broke him wasn't laziness, it wasn't even a bad day. It was a Tuesday night when his friends ordered pizza and he thought, I'll restart Monday. That moment, that tiny surrender, wasn't a willpower failure. It was an identity failure. He was performing discipline. He hadn't become it yet. That distinction is everything. Here's what most people believe about self-discipline, that it's a force you generate through sheer determination. You grit your teeth, you push through, you earn the result. And when it stops working, when you eat the thing you said you wouldn't, when you skip the gym for the fourth day in a row, you tell yourself you're weak, you need more willpower. But here's what the research actually shows. Willpower is a finite resource. It depletes across the day like a phone battery. Every decision you make, what to eat, what to say, what to resist, draws from the same pool. By 8 p.m., most people have almost nothing left. This isn't a character flaw, it's biology. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The Vedic tradition identified this exact problem thousands of years before neuroscience caught up. Prabhupada taught that the mind and body operate under three modes of material nature, what the Vedas call the gunas. Tamas is inertia, heaviness, avoidance, the pull toward comfort and sleep. Rajas is passion, restless craving, chasing stimulation, burning energy without direction. And Sattva is clarity, calm, purposeful, naturally aligned action. Most people trying to build self-discipline are doing it from Rajas, from a state of frantic, motivated energy that burns hot and burns out. They set aggressive goals when the motivation spike hits. Then Tamas pulls them back. Then they get frustrated, generate another Raja surge, and the cycle repeats. Sound familiar? The Vedic insight is this. You can't discipline your way out of a mode. You can't willpower your way from Tamas to Sattva. What you can do is gradually shift the conditions that determine which mode dominates your life. And that shift starts not with your habits, but with understanding what's actually running the show underneath them. Here's the takeaway from this section. Next time discipline fails you, don't ask what's wrong with me. Ask what mode am I operating from. Tamas needs activation. Rajas needs direction. Sattva needs protection. Diagnosing your mode correctly is the first step to actually fixing the problem. There's a study I want you to know about. Researchers at MIT put people in a cafeteria and tracked what they ate. Then they simply rearranged the layout, moved the fruit to eye level, put the desserts further back, made water easier to reach than soda. No rules, no instructions. No one told anyone to eat differently. Fruit consumption went up 35%, soda went down significantly. The environment changed, the behavior followed. The people thought they were choosing. This is not a small finding. It's the whole game when it comes to how to build self-discipline. Because here's what's happening in your brain. You are not making decisions from a place of pure rational intention. You're responding to cues. Your environment is constantly sending signals that activate either tamas, rajas, or sattva. The phone on your nightstand triggers rajas the second you wake up. The processed food in your kitchen triggers tamas by 9 p.m. The chaotic workspace keeps your nervous system in a low-grade raja state all day, which means your decision-making quality degrades faster. Prabhupada spoke extensively about the concept of association. In Sanskrit, satsang, the idea that who and what you surround yourself with is not a passive backdrop to your life. It is an active force shaping your consciousness. The Vedic tradition didn't teach try harder. It taught choose your environment, like your life depends on it, because your mind does. James Clear, in his work on identity-based habits, landed on the same conclusion from a completely different direction. He calls it environment design. The people who seem to have incredible self discipline, the ones who never seem to struggle, aren't fighting harder. They've arranged their lives so the right behavior is the path of least resistance. They don't rely on motivation. They've made the good choice the easy choice. So, what does this look like in practice? If you want to meditate in the morning, put the cushion in the middle of the floor before you go to bed. If you want to eat better, don't buy the thing you're trying to avoid. Don't bring it into the house and then test your willpower against it at 10 p.m. If you want to read instead of scroll, charge your phone in another room. These are not motivational tricks. They're structural changes to the cues your environment is sending your nervous system. The Vedic model goes one level deeper. It says your association isn't just physical, it's informational. What you consume mentally, the content, the conversations, the media, the people you spend the most time with, all of it is shaping the mode you operate from. Satsang, in the fullest sense, means curating your inputs as carefully as you curate your food, because the mind eats too. The takeaway here is concrete. Before you try to build self discipline through more effort, audit your environment first. What in your physical space is pulling you toward tamas or rajas? What one structural change could you make today that would make the right behavior easier than the wrong one? Here's the deepest layer of this, and it's the one most people never reach. When you rely on willpower, you're fighting against your own desires. You want the pizza, but you're forcing yourself not to eat it. You want to stay in bed, but you're dragging yourself out. Every act of discipline feels like a small war. And wars are exhausting. You can win 100 battles and still lose the campaign. Prabhupada does teaching on tapasya, which is the Vedic concept that maps closest to what we call self discipline, is radically different from this. Tapasya is not suppression, it's purification. The goal is not to force yourself to do things you don't want to do. The goal is to gradually shift what you want so that what you desire and what is good for you become the same thing. Read that again because it changes everything about how to build self discipline. When you're in tamas, you genuinely want inertia. The desire for comfort is real. You can't just override it with logic. But as you shift towards sattva, through sleep, through food, through movement, through the quality of your associations, what you want actually changes. The person living a sattvic life doesn't white knuckle their way to the gym. They want to move. They don't force themselves to stop scrolling. The pull of it genuinely weakens. The desire purifies. This is where James Clear's identity research becomes the perfect secular bridge. Clear found that the most durable behavior change happens when people stop saying, I'm trying to quit smoking, and start saying, I'm not a smoker. Stop saying, I'm trying to get fit, and start saying, I'm someone who moves every day. The behavior follows the identity, and the identity is not declared. It's built through evidence. Every small action you take is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. The Vedic tradition says the same thing with different words. It talks about the gradual elevation of consciousness, not a sudden transformation, but a slow shift in what you love, what you're drawn to, what feels natural to you. The sattvic person isn't disciplined through force. They're disciplined because their desires have been refined to the point where the right action is also the desired action. So, how do you actually make this shift? You start small and you start with identity. Not, I will meditate for 30 minutes every morning. That's a performance. Instead, I am someone who takes care of their mind. Then find the smallest possible action that a person with that identity would take. 2 minutes, 1 page, 1 glass of water. Not because the action is the point, but because every time you take it, you cast a vote for who you are. And over weeks and months, those votes accumulate into a new self-concept. And the self-concept shapes the desires. And the desires stop fighting the discipline. This is why people who have genuinely built sustainable discipline don't talk about it the way people who are struggling with it do. They don't say, I force myself to work out. They say, I just work out. It's what I do. That's not arrogance. That's what it sounds like when the identity and the behavior have merged, when the war is over because one side stopped being the enemy. Start today with one question. What would someone who already has the discipline I want do in the next hour? Not in a month, not after the perfect conditions arrive. In the next hour, do that one thing, cast that vote. That's how the shift begins. And if that question, What would that person do right now keeps running into the same wall for you. If you've tried the identity work and the environment design and you're still finding yourself back at square one after a few weeks, that's not a you problem. That's a signal that something specific is blocking the shift. And it's almost always something that's hard to see on your own. I do free 30-minute calls, no pitch, no agenda, where we look at exactly where the pattern is breaking down for you specifically, not generic advice. Your situation, and you'll walk away from that conversation with a clear next step, whether we ever talk again or not. The link to book is in the description at dailymindreset.com/consultation. If you've been circling this for a while, that call might be the most useful 30 minutes you spend this month. Subscribe if you want more of this. We go deep on ancient wisdom, reframe for the way real life actually works. Tell me this. Which of the three modes, tamas, rajas, or sattva, do you think is running your life most right now and why?